Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure.
I wanted to ask a question about the deconstruction process. And there's all the list of things to become awakened to, all the addictions. There's like a big list. There is a list. You were saying recently there is an actual list.
Yep.
I started going through the first one, and I just realised there was a whole load of things in the process that I thought God thought, and all of going through that. Like, in terms of creating, it's an addiction, as you said, to write things down, but with the denial, I feel like I need to have everything written down to work through, because there's so many things to work through. And
Yeah.
like, what did you do? Did you have like pages and pages of like a thing for an addiction that you then found the fear and then found the...
Yeah, well, let's look at practically, I suppose, how it would work, right? So, of course, when we first start this process, we usually start because there's a lot of pain and suffering in our own personal life. Remember this diagram here, we've got, a lot of this in our life, and so we want to change some things. So we sort of start thinking along the lines of, I want to change a few things in my life to reduce my pain and suffering, basically. And so at this stage, we're not really in an awakening process, are we? We're just sort of going, in some ways it's a little selfish too, isn't it? Because it's going, I'm in pain, so I need to change something. It's a good thing, by the way, to see that, but it's not the end result really in the long run, because the end result in the long run is, I want to be more loving, is really the thing we're aiming for. But at this stage, we're just in this sort of pain and suffering. And when somebody tells us, it's because of our sin, we go, And then somebody sort of explains it to us as to how that's the case. And this happens all the time in the spirit world, by the way. There's every single person who's ever helped in the spirit world has this explained to them. Right? So this is going on for... If you don't go through this process here, you'll go through it there. Somebody will come along and explain what's going on in your life and the reason why you're in pain. And, at some point you'll need to make some decisions. So at this stage, somebody sort of explains it. So Jesus comes along into your life, explains it. And then you go, okay, I've got to find my sins. Sort of is an intellectual concept, isn't it? Sort of like, in my mind I'm thinking, if my sin is the cause of my pain and suffering, and I'm being told that, and I actually sort of think that might be true, then I've got to go and find my sins. So what do? A lot of us get out our portable whiteboard, it's a notepad, and we go, I need to make a list. Now, the only problem with making a list, by the way, I must point out, is that you're making a list of all the things you know. You're not making a list yet of all the things you don't know, because it's impossible to make a list of things you don't know. So you usually start by making a list of things you know. So I know that I didn't treat my hubby that good, so I sinned against my hubby, so husband. And then you might go, what did I do? Well, he was pretty much a mummy's boy, and I got sick of it. And so I started yelling at him and telling him to tidy up after himself. And I got really annoyed with him not picking up his clothes and having to make a meal for him every day and sending him off to work with a lunchbox and all that jazz, So I got sick of him doing that, and I decided I'm going to force him into doing all that himself. But instead of being loving about it and just saying, I'm not going to do it, you need to work it out what you're going to do, I started getting angry because I just wanted him to realise what he was doing, so I started getting angry about him. So that was one of my sins, let's say. I started getting really angry with my husband, right? There we go. And then we go, okay, I'm sick of doing my kids' lunch boxes now that I think about it as well, sending them off to school. And they're like 10 or 11, they could easily do it themselves. But again, I got pretty annoyed with them because they didn't want to do it and they always complained. And I really want them to do it voluntarily. I don't want them to complain all the time, so I'm sick of their complaints. So I'm angry with them too, kids. I'm angry. So I start realising, like, there's a lot of anger in me, so, that's interesting. There's a lot of anger going on. I feel angry with my husband, angry with my kids, feeling pretty annoyed with life generally. I don't get to do much of what I want. So number 3, I've decided I'm going to go off to the spa and get my nails done and get my feet massaged. Right? And this is because I'm loving myself, and that I'm sick of them, they're not doing anything for me. I'm going to do some things for myself instead. So I go off there, and then I start realising, that's really because I'm angry too, because I'm just trying to avoid the fact that there's a lot of things going on in my life where I'm doing things for others and not much for myself. But anyway, I start making a list, and I start recognising there are problems in my life. So that's a good thing. But the problem with it so far is that it's all just in my head, isn't it? It's sort of like I'm not really feeling much of it. I just feel mostly annoyed. And I don't even really understand necessarily why I'm so annoyed, but I just feel annoyed. Like when I was in my teens about having a husband and children, I was quite happy about the idea. And I was quite happy about the idea of sending him off to work with a lunchbox and sending my kids off to school with a lunchbox. I was quite happy about it then. But now, 20 years or 15 years later, now that I'm actually in the situation for 15 years, I'm going, this isn't very nice at all. Like, to me, in particular, it's not very nice. So I'm starting to recognise that actually there must be other things going wrong in my life as well, not just the fact that I'm angry with my husband, but I must be angry for reasons, right? There must be reasons going on. And a lot of this is really about lack of love of self, right, so far in this list, where I'm not loving myself by doing these things for other people. And because for a start, I don't want to do them. And the reality is you're not loving other people either if you just don't want to do something, but you continue doing it. Like, you're not loving them either. So you start seeing that you're quite upset and angry. So you start making a list. You get out your notebook and you go, here's one, here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. 5 pages later, still making a list. Now, I did do that at the beginning. That's exactly what I did. So I got to about 20 pages of stuff. And I'm going, that's a lot of sin, right? That's a lot of sin. And I'm going, what in the hell do I do about all of this, right? It's sort of like, it's like shocking when you start looking at it properly and you start worrying, and then you got to add worry to your list because you start doing that as well. Fear about dealing with it, so you add that to your list as well. And it's sort of like, now you've got 25 pages and it's still going on. And it's all just like very overwhelming at this stage, intellectually. It's even intellectually overwhelming, isn't it? But, wow. It's like, so how does that... Now that you could say that's the start of my awareness. Can you see that? So you could say, by making these lists of all the things that are happening, I am starting to choose to become aware. My awareness is beginning in my mind, intellectually. So that's not a bad thing, by the way, because before then I was completely unaware in every sense. Now I'm at least got some awareness. But what most of us do then is very interesting. What we do then, after we've made this sort of list that we become aware of, is that we start trying to act differently. So what we try to do is we go, I'm really angry about sending my hubby off to work with a lunchbox every day because it means I've got to get up when he gets up, and if he gets up at 4, I'm get up at 4, and I've got to prepare the meal as well. But it's his lunch, so he probably should do it. But I'm saying to myself, but I've got to do it because a good wife does that, and and also I don't go to work, so I feel a bit of guilt that I don't go to work, so I want to do it for him because he goes to work for both of us, and so I get myself a bit tied up with the whole thing, and what I end up doing is I end up going, well, all I need to do here is change some actions on my part to make it easier on me. So one way we do that is buy some pre-prepared meals and just say, shove it in the mic when you get to work, in the microwave. Or we might say, to our children, I'm not preparing your lunches anymore. Here's £10. Go and get your lunches every day. So that's alleviated you from the feeling without addressing much at all. You've taken action, but no feelings change.
I was going to say, but also my partner works from home and I homeschool my child, so they don't go away.
And
right.
Does that get annoying?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So here we are, we're in this state where we're trying to take a different action, but actually my feelings haven't changed very much, and all I'm really doing is alleviating the result of my previous action by taking a new action. But the underlying emotional reason why I took the action I took is still not addressed, and the underlying reason why I feel about it is still not addressed. So now I'm taking action, thinking I'm doing the right thing, and changing, but I'm actually not changing. In my heart, my emotions are still the same. Now, if your focus of making a list is to access the emotions, then the list is purposeful. But if your reason for making a list is because you just want to change your behaviour, then this list is not going to help you. You follow?
Yeah.
If my focus of my list is to find the emotional reason why I do something, it has a good purpose. If the reason why I'm making a list is just to change my physical behaviour,
Or to self-punish.
Yeah. Then this list is not working. It's not going to work for me. Yep. I will need to do something in addition. Now, frequently, what we want to do is make a list, change our behaviour. And why do we do that? Why do we make a list? So we feel bad about what we do or what's happening in our life, so we make a list of what's bad in our life, and then we choose to change our behaviour. Why do we do that? So why do we choose to change our behaviour using our mind rather than it be a natural process of growth where we remove emotional reasons why we behave the way we do? There's got to be something going on emotionally, isn't there, where we're very uncomfortable with dealing with the emotions.
Oh, it's an avoidance, isn't it?
Oftentimes an avoidance, yes.
Yeah.
It's oftentimes the avoidance of the actual emotion. And so what we do is we make the list. So here, let's say this is a very rudimentary list, of course. If there's only 3 problems in your life, then you're doing pretty good, I think. But anyway. So you make the list, and then you go, okay, my husband, I'm angry about making his meals, so I'm going to just stop making meals. Stop making meals. And I've seen women do this, right? Very angry, of course. Stop making meals. Problem solved.
Well, the emotion's still there, but...
Yeah, the emotional reason is why you were making wheels for 15 years, what you were getting out of it, what the purpose of it was for you, the idea that you're giving love to people by making them less self-responsible for their own life. None of those things are addressed. All you've done is stop making meals, and that's stopped you being angry with your husband, but it actually hasn't stopped all the reasons why you were doing it,
No.
which are the real problem, right? So you can see that by taking an action, I've actually sort of convinced myself that I've circumnavigated the problem. I've gotten around the problem. But actually the problem still is in my soul. So the feeling driving me doing it for 15 years or whatever prior is still in my soul. There's an error there. And also, by the way, the feeling driving him to expect it is still in him as well. Because you've not talked about it, you've not addressed it with him as to why he even expects you to do that, right? So you've not actually addressed the problem. So you know what's going to happen then? Your anger will still build up in your soul, and then it's going to turn into Stop talking to him. Stop having sex with him. Right? Stop intimacy, in other words. It's going to just become worse and worse because the actual fundamental problem as to why something was done is still not addressed. And why the other person accepted it as loving is still not addressed either. And the problem with doing that is you end up shutting yourself down more and more and more to avoid problems, with the net result being eventually it will be leave him. It won't it? Probably. Leave him, leave my life, find a lover, whatever.
Start making his lunches.
Start making his lunches. Yes. Or find a lover that makes my lunch. Is what often happens, Like, I'm sick of this and I'm never going to do it again, so I want the opposite now, which is still a sin, right? So we end up making these changes intellectually which actually don't address the emotional state that's in error. So if your listing of things and your writing down of things is helping you tune in to the emotional reasons why you do things, well, that's great. But if your reason for making a list is to just take a whole series of actions which avoid the problem in the list, then your motive for the list is very much faulty. It's a sin in itself, actually.
Another reason I've written lists is because sometimes I feel so afraid of the emotional content of the sin, or the, how much that feels like there is a way of trying to get a sense of control. Okay, I'll deal with A, and then there'll be B, and then it'll be C. But actually in that process, I've gotten away from the overwhelm that I needed to go through, which was actually fear of just opening up emotionally to the issues. So, yeah, it's just about being sensitive to your motivations, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's also, I think, part of my thinking about it is wanting to get through the list and have completed the deconstruction process on each one, but because I'm worried my brain won't manage to remember where I'm at with each thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what I've come to understand is that your brain is very, very limited and pretty weak tool in this whole process.
Pretty useless device, really.
Yeah. And it gets tricky and it does all these things.
Your brain often is just responding to the emotional demand to continue the sin.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, your brain often is supporting your sin rather than helping deconstruct it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only way to deconstruct sin is because all sin is emotional. You have to go through emotions. Yeah. And this is what most people do by making a list to avoid the emotional process. And there's a deep sense often of frustration about the emotional process. Like, how do I find the emotion? Well, this is going to require some sincere longing on your part to find them. In the first century I said to everyone, seek the truth will set you free. But you have to seek it. And the only thing that's going to create freedom from your sin is you seeking the truth about it. Right? And that requires a sincere desire to seek. In fact, God's made it that way. There's a fair bit of noise out there. Should we close that?
Just close that door. Yeah.
If we can just close one of those. Maybe the front door, the very front door.
No, it's the air dryers.
Oh, it's the dryers, is it?
In the toilets, yeah. Yeah, thanks, Bex.
Yeah, good.
It's, Jesus always used to say to me, trust the process that God has you in. And if we go back to the start of the discussion about God's laws, like God's laws are working to help us in this awakening to sin process. So while the list, as Jay said, could be helpful in some ways, if you're using the list to prevent just kind of going into this process with God where you're seeking for the sins to be pointed out to you emotionally by the law through your sincere attitude and just allowing each new one to be exposed and dealt with as it comes up, then the list is working against you. If the list is do you sort of see what I mean there? Often we want to be in control of how it's going to go. And
emotionally,
I've got,
control.
And control, like it's good to want to see all of our sins, but if we're using the list to go, right, I'm going to deal with mum issues these 6 months and then dad issues after that, and then I'll look at my kids, the way I've treated my kids after that, because that'll be a lot clearer after I've done those two. It just doesn't work. I tried. It doesn't work. And it's frustrating. And you're like, no, God, I'm on dad issues. Why do you keep bringing me this stuff with the kids? You know, I can't think about that now. I can't feel about that now.
But I'm also really aware that the child issues are because of my dad issues. But yeah, obviously humility's what it comes down to at the end. But while I'm with my child and he's talking at me, like I found it easier since I've started. I felt I started feeling a few years ago. I can do it when I'm really relaxed, just on my own in my room. But that's not cutting it anymore. I need to be with my child a lot. We need to go to groups. Homeschooling is so many. What I need to do with my fear of doing education badly, so I can see God's perspective on it as well. But yeah, just prioritizing, as you said, that time to feel. But yeah, doing it with other people is something I really haven't got to.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot involved with doing it with other people, because you know there's embarrassment and shame and other things that happened in your childhood. Where you were ashamed when you cried, or made to feel embarrassed when you cried, or made to feel embarrassed about having any emotion for the most part. There's a lot of reasons why.
My face looks quite gormless as well. Whenever my partner sort of sees my face relaxing and I'm feeling, he's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm like, But again, it's dealing with that shame of how I look to others and approval. Yeah.
But if you can just go back for a moment, the desire to feel, the true desire to feel, will drive you into a state of feeling, not in an unloving, driven manner, but it would lead you there. And I think we need to also, perhaps for the last few minutes, because it's near the end of our day, let's just, just a few things I would like to say about God's process that he's got you through. And this applies to all of his children. So it's a very loving process that God has us going through. And if I can just say what it is. Firstly, God is trying to share to you via the conscience truth. So if you think, so the conscience is a part of your soul, so I'll just draw it as a complete soul. God's trying to share via the conscience truth with you. That's to help you. It's to help you become happier. When God can't share information by the conscience, he's also attempting to provide information to other souls who can share information with you. The first one of those is a guardian. A guardian, which is a spirit who's been assigned to help you with spiritual matters, only if you desire to progress with spiritual matters. And it also has a guide that God's trying to help you with truth. And the guide's general thing is to try to protect you. So he's trying to help you with things like if your relationship is potentially going to bring you harm, then your guide's going to be trying to share information with you about that as well, show you where that's happening, right? Then God also created a whole heap of laws, right? The law of attraction in particular, and the law of cause and effect, to help you come to terms with what's going on for you. So that attracts events, and you will be faced with those events in order to help you deal with problems. So if you think about it, the law is already exposing to you your next thing you need to deal with. If you're emotionally sensitive, you'll know straight away what that is, right? Now, anything that develops into a physical problem, as we've already seen, is indicative of a denied thing way, way back emotionally, right? So every physical problem you have is an attraction to help you see something's going on emotional. But you've got all of these methods, and then on top of that, God is trying to influence people on earth, so other souls on earth who are face to face with you to talk with you so you can be helped with some of your problems. So God's got all of these things going on all the time with every one of us, and how much influence that has upon us, it depends upon our openness to that influence. And that means it's dependent upon our sensitivity to the influence. The more aware we become, the more sensitive we become to the influence. So we start seeing, there's an indication, another problem, there's an indication, another issue, there's an indication, another issue. And of course, this is happening with all of the laws at any one time, but the thing that's going to have the most bearing on you is also the most intense attraction. So what that means is, whatever is in your face should be the first thing you deal with. You follow? If you just keep dealing with whatever is in your face right now, you'll be dealing with the next thing that God feels is the most important thing to deal with. So this is what happens in the spirit world. Most people are only helped on the next thing. They don't make great big lists, even though in front of most people there is Nero had hundreds of thousands of things on his list, literally. But God's laws were just trying to help him deal with the next biggest thing, the thing that was going to help him the most in the moment. You follow? And so if you allow the laws to work in the way they're intended to, you'll be able to see straight away what the next thing is, and then you need to be sincere about it and start dealing with it. You can pray about it, you can also become aware of it, and then you've got to go through to the process of awakening of it. But if you focus on the thing that is being brought to you constantly, so if in other words, the thing causing you most distress in your life is your relationship with your children, then that's your next biggest thing. If the thing that's causing you the most distress in your life is your relationship with your partner, that's the next biggest thing. If it's to do with what's going on at work, then that's the next biggest thing. You just need to deal with the next biggest thing, and then the next biggest thing after that will come. You follow? Making a list means you want control of the next biggest thing. So good luck with that. The control of the next biggest thing.
I tried.
Mary's tried that.
Doesn't work.
I did it for a while until I recognised that God was always bringing me the next biggest thing anyway. And all I needed to do was focus on what I was attracting, the next biggest thing, and then I could work through it. Now, there are times in that process where I've got to work through awareness through to awakening, and then I use a notebook a lot, actually. Like that helps me a lot to go, okay, the next biggest thing is this. What do I know about it already? What do I think I know about it? I pray about it. What do I think I know about it? I often write down a lot of things there. But I only focus on that next biggest thing. Yeah. So at the moment, my next biggest thing is love of self, and that's why I need to finish now. 4:15. Now, just one heads up about tomorrow. We're going to start again at 11 o'clock, but we're going to introduce one additional topic to the conversation, and that is the spirit influence that's under with regard to sin. So we're going to introduce that to it, and what we may start to do tomorrow is start to do a little bit of channeling, trying to see how spirits are influencing some of the sins as well. Does that make sense? So that way we get a more rounded view of the influences that are upon us, both on a physical level, but also on a spiritual level, on our spirit body and our physical body as a result of that. So that's what we want to do tomorrow. And so we'll catch up with you guys at 10ish, 11ish, sorry. We'll probably open up about 10ish tomorrow.
Yep.
Mary and I will need to do a few things now to do our normal routine. We've got a bit of a routine now as to what we have to do with our recordings and all those kind of things. And so we'll do that now. So we probably won't be able to catch up with you personally now. But with regard to tomorrow, I was just thinking there's part of the day where those of you who are not coming to Damerham might want to ask some other types of questions like in the afternoon. And we also probably want to share with you a bit about our future plans. So we might just allocate maybe a half an hour at the end of the day tomorrow just to answer some of those questions for those of you who will not be here next week.
Who will be here?
Who will be here next?
Who won't be? Who won't be?
Who won't be here next week?
Yeah,
quite a few.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
So it gives you a chance to ask questions related to that as well. So our general plan tomorrow will be, we'll continue on the discussion. We'll introduce the whole idea of some spirit influence into the discussion. We will do probably a little bit of channeling in a practical way. And then by the time we get to about 3 tomorrow afternoon, we'll look at just stopping that conversation and just answering any questions you have about plans and other things unrelated to the topics we've been discussing, but not personal issues, more about plans for the future and things like that. Make sense? Yeah. Good day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks for your participation, everyone.